Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Please excuse the lack of makeup. I've taken my makeup off 4 times in the space of like 3 hours. My face is raw, my eyes hurt, it's fine. So I have a reaction video for you today. We are looking at an article that I found from Bored Panda. 50 times makeup artists failed so bad, they deserve to be shamed online. New pics. Now, although I don't agree with the term they deserve to be shamed, I do think that if you're going to accept money for a service, you should know how to do it. So we're gonna look through these pictures, give us some constructive criticism. For those who don't know, I'm a professional makeup artist. I have been for 17, almost coming up to 18 years. Was it 19 years? No. I've had many clients, I've done many models, I've done celebrity clients, I've done weddings, everything like that throughout my career. And I feel like a lot of the makeup artists nowadays that provide services in like salons, etc., learn a lot of their techniques online, and sometimes they're not the best for everyday practice. So let's take a look just before we get into it. As I always like to say, creativity and individuality have no rules, but makeup has a theory, especially when you're charging for it. Okay, let's take a look. This is the first image. So this said bridal makeup with a post. A few things that are going on here that make this image not so great. There's a lot of makeup, and it's fine to wear a lot of makeup, it is, but one thing you have to remember is to blend it in properly. The textures that we're seeing here are all sitting on top of each other. You can see a divide between where one product ends and one product finishes. For example, the concealer under the eye, you can literally see some strokes there. You can almost see like a fingerprint at one point. It's very heavy, it's very textured. It could have done with a little bit more blending in, and I think it's on top of foundation, which is going to give you an even heavier coverage. For bridal, you want something that you know is going to last. Building up layers to that extent isn't the best thing to do for bridal. Unless you're going to be there all day to touch up, it's not so great. You can also see where some baking has gone on, and a powder perhaps hasn't been removed properly or moved away. I wouldn't risk baking on a wedding day. But the contour of the nose is looking a little bit grey. The lip, I'm not really sure what's going on there, to be honest with you. I think that's a gloss in the middle. But one thing I would suggest, especially with quite a thick, I don't know what that is, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a very unusual color, but I would definitely sheer it out and incorporate the lip liner into the lip product a little bit more, just so you can keep that perfect edge to the lip. You can also see where the brows have taken on, the natural brow has taken on some of the product. It's got in the brow. To be honest with you, the eyes aren't terrible. They just kind of need to be blended a little bit more underneath, and lashes are personal preference. However, I would make the lashes underneath a little bit darker because you can see them. So this one came up, and it's a bit of an unusual one because it kind of looks like the face has been drawn on almost with the makeup. Nothing looks blended, and I wonder if this is before they actually blended it and maybe the picture's been taken out of context. The markings on the face look like it's like the Lion King production, you know what I mean? It gives like a theatrical vibe when there's marks and lines, because you're like, why is that line there? What does it mean? What does it do? This nose contour as well, it's all very Instagrammable in terms of hopefully a filter or a camera or phone quality might kind of fade that out. There's makeup all over her top also. The color, none of the shades on the face have a model skin tone. And there's a lot going on considering there isn't any eye makeup on this look as well. There's very minimal eye makeup, but if you're gonna carve out the whole face like this, give us like a carving in the brow also. You can see where my skin is so dry on it, it's like quarter. There has to be some blending in the situation. You can't just draw lines on people's face and smooth it out with powder and leave lines on people's face. That's gonna, imagine that in daylight or photographed with a flash. This is very UK. You can tell straight away if this is done in a UK based salon. So they have changed her skin tone. I do like that they've taken it down to the shoulders. So the foundation isn't necessarily bad in terms of the coverage. Honestly, brows, personal preference. That brow looks kind of fine to me. The eye makeup, I personally really like. I do like a dramatic eye like that. I love a color. I think it's great. Now, when it comes to the lips, these lips have kind of got themselves a really bad name online. I think they call them steak lips because it's like brown on the edges and kind of raw in the middle. This isn't a bad lip combination. However, if you're gonna do a really dark lip line like this, on this skin tone with such a contrasting color in the middle, I would cover the whole lip in the pencil first, leaving a big gap here and a gap in the middle. blend the pencil into the lip so it fades out and blends, and then gently apply that color in the middle and blend it into the liner until it's sheer, and then go in with a fuller coverage, because this is just very sudden. The cheeks are something which I always try to warn people about, and that is layering your products up incorrectly. You can see that the contour, blush, and highlight are all in one area and are all touching, making the highlight give off this grey Tin Man-like highlight. It makes the contour and the highlight together look like mud, and it gives off this really muddy texture. I would move the contour down, move the highlight up. You can absolutely keep the blush overlapping the contour a little bit, and I even quite like that the blush is on the apples of the cheeks here. However, again, your contour and your highlight can't be touching. It is a recipe for disaster. So this is apparently advertising for a brand, and the makeup artist is tagged yellow skin. If you are ever learning makeup and your teacher tells you that all you need is yellow foundation in your kit, leave that class and ask for a refund. You do not need only yellow, because not everyone is yellow, and when they're not and you use it, oh my god, does it show up. Like on camera, in real life, it's not a good look. And we see it a lot online. Yellow face, neutral or pinker chest, it just doesn't look right. Or in some cases, light yellow and just dark yellow, it doesn't add up. This is almost verging on olive. To me, the lips are fine. The eyes, the end of the brows seem to be touching the end of the eye makeup, which instantly closes up your eyes and can kind of make the eyes look like they're going down a little bit in comparison to the middles that can be quite lifted. So I would always figure out what direction your eye makeup is going in, and then either stop your brow or wing it out a little bit further. And there's ways to do that on a lot of brows. Shape is really, really important. If your brow does come quite low down and you want a winged out look without your brow touching, you just bring out your wing from underneath the eye a little bit more, and it gives you more room. For that foundation, poor lady. Another example of a yellow face and a different color neck. TV is really going to show everything up, and I've noticed recently again a lot of yellow faces. So this is another example of yellow face, different color chest. Oh, I don't really know what to say about this one. It's not the most horrendous in terms of the makeup, but if I was to give some advice to this eye look, I would say the brows kind of thin. I would thicken up the part here and then add a slight curve to that. You see where the bottom brow kind of goes up and down? It's very sharp, whereas your top of a brow has a curve to it. I would curve down the bottom a little bit just so it all looks a little bit more even. And the liner I would take up a little bit. The model has what's called like a turned down eye, but she has this incredible room between this part of her eye and the brow, and you could really do some really nice lifting there if that's what they wanted. A really nice eye color as well, so colors just like black and browns work really beautifully. Red tone browns would look amazing as well. Other than that, I don't think the contour is crazy. I don't think the bronzer is crazy. I think it's fine in that aspect. So this is 47.7 million likes, and this is the work here. One thing I would say is that if you're going to use an eyelash and you don't have that much length room, you don't really want to bring out the eyelash too far, otherwise it can look quite costumey. It can look like you're going to like a themed party. If you have a very small space in terms of the length of your lash, either use just a corner lash or cut off quarter of the length of a normal lash and then use it that way, because when you use these long ones, it looks like it's the equivalent of those duck fingernails, you know what I mean? I would work on making the lip shape a little bit more even. Perhaps the curved look is a nicer fit for this particular client. But eye makeup seems to just suddenly stop on each end of the eye. You can see they've done this kind of like blend on the top where it seems to be a pinker tone. I think it was maybe purple underneath and they've blended black into it. That halo of that pink would have been nice around the whole eye. Yes, it's a lot, and I would like to see it with the eyes open because I want to see what kind of shape they were going for, you know? I'm assuming another UK based artist. Again, we have a wrong foundation match. This eye makeup though I really like it. I think it's really beautiful, and if it's what the client wants, presumably they've seen the artist's work before because it's a very particular look to go for. It's cute. Again, those lips, we really need to focus on those. In fact, I might do it at the end of this. The lips we really need to focus on because it does just look like separate products, and especially when you're using gloss around the whole lip, in certain lights you don't get like all these details. You can use a brown like this and blend it into white if you wanted to, but you just have to be really careful that it doesn't end up just looking like a bit of a mess. I get tagged in this girl's stuff a lot of the time. I have to say something. Although her technique may not be to everyone's taste, although this might not be for everyone, she's created a signature style for herself, which I think is pleasing to the eye in a really strange way. Would I recommend you do this every day? No. Unless that's your style and you want to, then absolutely go for it. And I don't think she would recommend it too. And I'm sure she's aware of when and if she should be doing this look, you know, with, you know, events and things like that. But it's her style. I've seen people do this as people doing like a really bright under eye. And I think it looks great on some people. I can't see any like texture on it, but I mean, if you're gonna do that, I wouldn't say like, I just wouldn't powder it too much and that's it. The way people do makeup in the UK, not everyone, but these like salons and stuff is a very particular way. And it's very much the lips like this, and a lot of lines when it comes to the outside of the face. This isn't, okay, so eyes, stunning, absolutely beautiful. Like they are so stunning. I would cut the end of that lash though, because you're kind of ruining the line, your liner you made. You're tilting the eye down with that lash, and it does give like a nice heavy eye look. But on this particular look, if you're gonna have those lines, especially with that bronzer, make everything go in that line, because that lash dipping down has made that line super obvious. So make sure that lash stops and goes with the rest of the face. I like the placement of the blush and highlighter and bronzer there, keeping it separate. Should be blended more, otherwise it just looks like stripes of like ice cream. And then we have our lips again. Okay, so I have the lightest gloss I could find, and I'm actually gonna use a dark brown eye pencil just to kind of prove a point that you can use quite a dark and a light color together. And maybe I'll have to talk over it in thingy because I want to concentrate. Okay, so it's very simple. We're just going to line the lips how we would normally, all the way around, but gently shade in these corners. Blend the pencil into the lip so it fades out very slightly, just like you're blending eyeshadow. Go on with a small layer, thin layer of a gloss first to melt the pencil into the lips, and then put on our extra layer of gloss. So this is how I would personally do that lip should a client want that look. The pencil is blended in to the gloss. It's very hard to see because it's so shiny, but it's ombre. It's not just, oh, so much gloss, it's so uncomfortable. It's not just suddenly like stagnant on your lip, you know? Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I should do a video one day of how you can tell makeup is by a British person. Thank you so much for joining me. Do consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.